My brother called me out of practice on a Wednesday afternoon, and the coach handed me his phone without saying a word. I remember thinking that was strange. Coach never handed anyone his personal phone. He was particular about that. I took it confused, expecting some logistical message about a ride or a schedule change. My brother's name was on the screen, but it wasn't a call. It was a text that just said, "Come outside now, I'm in the parking lot." I grabbed my bag and walked out, still in my cleats. He was leaning against his car with his arms crossed, which was how he stood when he was trying to hold something together. I hadn't seen him look like that since our dad's surgery 3 years ago. I stopped walking when I was still a few feet away because something in me didn't want to close that distance yet. "Get in the car," he said, not unkind, just quiet. I asked him what was wrong. He shook his head and said he'd explain on the way. I asked where we were going. He said home. I told him I had 2 more hours of practice. He looked at me then, really looked at me and said, "I know, get in the car." I got in. He drove for about 4 minutes without speaking. I watched his jaw work like he was rehearsing something. I'd known my brother my entire life, and I had never seen him search for words. He talked the way other people breathed, constantly, easily, without effort. The silence felt like a physical thing between us. I asked him if someone was hurt. He said yes. I asked who. He pulled into a gas station parking lot and put the car in park even though we were nowhere near home. That's when I understood we were never actually going home. He just needed me out of that building. He turned to face me, and I could see he'd been crying already before he came, maybe in the parking lot while he waited. His eyes were red in the way that comes after, not during. He told me that our grandmother had collapsed that morning at her house, that the neighbor had found her, that by the time the ambulance arrived she was already gone. "Massive stroke," he said. "They think it was fast. They think she didn't feel it." I heard the words, but they didn't land in the right order. I kept thinking about the last time I'd seen her, which was Sunday, 4 days ago. She'd made rice the way she always made it, standing at the stove with her back to the room, humming something I never recognized. I'd sat at her kitchen table doing homework while she cooked, and neither of us talked much, and it hadn't felt significant at all. It felt like every other Sunday. I asked my brother why he'd pulled me out of practice instead of just calling. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said he'd seen something before he left to come get me. Someone had posted a video online. He didn't know who. He thought it might have been a paramedic or someone who lived on her street. The video showed the outside of her house, the ambulance, the stretcher. He said people from school were already sharing it, that he'd seen it in 3 different places before he even got in his car. He said he didn't want me to find out that way. He wanted to be the one sitting next to me when I heard it. I didn't say anything for a long time. I looked out the window at a man filling his tank across the lot, just going about a regular Wednesday, and I felt the most profound distance from everything ordinary. I asked my brother if he'd watched the video. He said no. He said he closed it the second he understood what it was. I told him I didn't want to see it. He said, "I know, you won't." We sat in that parking lot for probably 40 minutes. He didn't try to fill it. He didn't tell me it was going to be okay. He just stayed there, engine off, present in a way that cost him something, and I think that was the only thing anyone could have done right in that moment. I still haven't seen the video. I don't know if it's still out there somewhere. I've decided that her last Sunday, standing at that stove, humming something I never learned the name of, is the only version I'm keeping.